Canada.
Are you trying to say that we can put Canada onto a bid to sell off Canada to America or China or India?
Why should Trump be the only one to make an offer?
National medicine.
Canada's national medicine, its strategy is Tylenol.
Tylenol. Hi friends, welcome to Kyon Ghanti Bajee, another episode. And today we have Paul Hesse, a social and political commentator from Canada. He's been a lawyer in a previous Janma. So welcome to our show, Kyon Ghanti Bajee, Paul.
Welcome, Paul. Welcome and good morning.
Namaskar, doston.
There are lots of things which we have in our mind. We were just going to discuss with you. My first question with you is that what does the future hold for Prime Minister Justin Trudeau and the Liberals? What do you feel?
He had a bad week, but I can't think of a good week that he's had lately. When was the last time he had a good week? I don't know that he's very long for this political world in Canada, but Canada's full of separatists. Maybe he has a future as a prime minister of some new nation.
That's a good one.
But related to this question, that and then when the Christina Freeland, she resigned. So can you give us a little bit, the points that why and what happened behind the scene, and then it happened this.
That's a very interesting question that Amarjeet has raised. I didn't think of it. Rather, I can now add a point that she, I think, just resigned before the mini finance bill that was to be passed.
So what happened is just before the fall economic update, Chrystia Freeland, Minister of Finance, was supposed to give the fall annual update. So she was going to say what the deficit was going to be, what the government's plan for finances was. And just before that, the prime minister said, I'm going to replace you after this. I have someone else in mind, but please do the fall economic update and then I'll fire you. And she didn't like that idea. And she said, no, I'm going to go first. I have self-respect.
Are you trying to say that he gave away the plan to her before he gave her an escape route?
Okay, I wasn't there, but that's what I hear.
There's another great theory going around in the United States. I don't know whether Mr. Donald Trump has ideated it or not, that people are saying that it's a great idea for Canada to now become the 51st US state and join the American Confederation. What do you say, Paul?
I want to add a point. So what do you think, Paul, that it was just a joke or serious?
Or it can really happen?
Well, Donald Trump has said it, I think, 3 times at least on Truth Media. So he hasn't just said it once, he said it 3 times. So he's making a big deal of it. What do I think? Well, he's a real estate man, right? So he knows location. It matters, right? But also in real estate, is there just one offer or is there more than one? I haven't heard his price. Why don't we open it up for bids? How about India? How about China? How about Europe? Get in on it. What's the offer for Canada?
Amarjeet हमारे दर्शकों बोल रहे हैं, Paul कह रहा है कि tender system हो जाना चाहिए. Are you trying to say it should be like a tender system?
Why not have an open bid and auction?
So are you trying to say that we can put Canada onto a bid to sell off Canada to America or China or India?
Why should Trump be the only one to make an offer?
That's Paul, another thing which is happening day to day, every day it's happening in the immigration laws and policies and all that. So what do you think that what's the overall immigration policies of Canada? But that it's changing every day, the law, and then the people are just they are just thinking that what is happening, what is going to happen in the future? What do you think?
So a few years ago, the message was labor shortage. So then they opened the doors and they wanted to bring in more workers. And now in Canada, people are talking about housing shortage, too high housing prices. So now they're shutting the door. So it's a bit of a pendulum swinging. But big picture, we're a big country. We don't have that many people. Certainly India is 1.4 billion. We've got maybe 40 million. We got a lot more room. And we have an aging population. So we have a lot of older people. People aren't having that many children. And Canada's strategy was to bring in new immigrants to help pay for the demographics. So basically, the pensions of the old white people complaining about immigration will be paid for and subsidized by the immigrants. That's the plan.
Paul, I'm adding on to what Amarjeet said. I was just thinking about it. There are primarily three categories which I see that there's been a problem with the immigration system is not problem, or rather something to do which you need to maybe address for our audience is that one, there are international students. Second, there are international investors. And third, there are foreign workers. And today in the morning, I was just reading, I think the immigration minister, Mark Miller, said that the system is overheated. So why did the government let it overheat? Are these potatoes or onions?
Well, I mean, it did overheat, but that was this government that increased immigration to levels that we haven't seen in maybe 100 years or more. And the students and the workers, it's really the same thing, because when students graduate, what are they? They're in their 20s. They've been educated in Canada. They speak some English. And then they've got a whole career in front of them and paying taxes. And that was what the system was built around. But yeah, there's maybe 500,000 new permanent residents a year in recent years, close to that. And even more international students and international workers, temporary foreign workers. So it's basically put a lot of pressure on the housing system. Prices have been going up and up and up, and we haven't been building enough houses. So I think they want to recalibrate the system. And maybe we need more carpenters and not as many international students.
What is the dictionary meaning of emergency?
Emergency means?
I'm not sure, actually. You tell me.
Okay, so coming to the main point is that what the scene at the hospitals in the emergency wards in Canada.
Now we got it.
Yeah. In terms when you needed, emergency services for that.
Yeah, that's one of the main issues in Canada is emergency room medicine. And it's not just for emergencies anymore. It's if people don't have a family doctor, they go to the emergency room, and you don't want to get sick in Canada right now. If you do get sick in Canada, it might be faster to fly to India than to get treatment in an emergency room. It's really slow.
Correct. I get your point, because the hospital system and the appointment system has really, really been delayed, disrupted, and this complete disruption in the medical system. As a matter of fact, even some of the general practitioners, they just keep prescribing simple medicines and discharge for even greater illnesses.
And how about Canada's national medicine?
Canada's national medicine, its strategy is Tylenol.
He's saying, Amarjeet saying in Hindi, Tylenol khao aur kaam pe chalo. Have a Tylenol and get to work.
Yes.
So that's brilliant. Paul, on a more serious note, because of, as you moved your hand 3 times up and said that the immigration system, I mean, they've overfed the system, overburdened this system. So don't you think so many people have come in? I'm not saying one particular class, creed, or section, but overall, don't you think Canada can sometimes have a security problem? Because of what I see is that there are so many people who have entered Canada from various countries all over the world. And after they commit atrocities or crimes, and then all the investigation starts. So what do you think about the security aspect?
Oh, yeah, there's been complaints about that. We've heard it from different ways. And I think Trump is just one of the latest people to talk about that. And I think Canada is responding to Trump and to other things going on, and is now going to have more border security. And we had for the longest time the longest undefended border in the world, and that's changing. Now there's going to be 24/7 cameras and drones and the RCMP and Canada Border Services Agency watching the border more, and that is new.
Satellite detection.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, satellite detection, and I don't know, Chinese-made drones and everything, Thank you, China, for helping us secure our borders.
Thank you, China. Yeah.
Or maybe India makes drones. Maybe India can help us secure our borders.
Yeah,
as you just said about India, that, Paul, what do you think Canada-India ties? Especially with the Trudeau government statements in the parliament and ongoing diplomatic fiasco and confusions.
Yeah, that's a brilliant point. I didn't think Amarjeet is going to bring it up because obviously he researches a lot. So very good point. So I'd like to just add one point to it, and then you can answer, please. And that is that would the Prime Minister of democratic country which has over 110 years of association and relationship with India, and India has been a very friendly country to Canada, and India is the largest and I think the mother of all democracies in the world. So, is that fair for a prime minister of a country like Canada to stand up in the parliament and make allegations towards one of the most friendliest countries to it?
So I'll start by saying Canada and India should have excellent relations. There's lots of reasons why we should have excellent relations. I think the current prime minister has not had the best relationship with India. He's put his foot in his mouth many times on visits to India and in Canada, and that's unfortunate, but I don't think Justin Trudeau will be prime minister for that much longer. So hopefully the next prime minister will have better relations with India.
But the damage has been done.
Yes, but I hope that people will be able to look past that and to see the potential with Canada and India.
Got your point. I'd like you to jog us a bit with your experience that we have Mr. Narendra Modi, who's a very respected figure globally. He's the Prime Minister of India. And how do you see his equation with Trudeau and on the global front, Mr. Narendra Modi's perception?
Oh, I think they are night and day comparisons. I mean, when I think, I'm in Canada, I've never been to India. I don't have any great insight into Narendra Modi.
Viewpoint.
But my impression of him is that he's a very devout and serious man. And I think Canadians have lost confidence in Justin Trudeau, and they don't feel a lot of respect or affection or anything like that for him anymore. I think they are ready for a new prime minister.
So if you feel that, the Canadians, they lost their confidence in Mr. Trudeau's, government. So what do you think, what can be next? I mean, what people are thinking to have the next government, which,
Well, I mean, if the election were happening today, I'm sure that Pierre Poilievre and the Conservatives would win. I think one option that might still happen is whether the Liberals have a new leader before the next election and at least can present a different face to Canadians. That might make a bit of a difference. But Canadians will decide in the next election, and I think it's looking like we'll have an election next year.
So do you think that Conservatives, they will be, they can give us a solid government and then with the full support and,
with the full mandate?
I mean, the election will decide. Canadians will decide. I think that anyone running against Justin Trudeau right now would have an excellent chance of winning. And it happens to be that in Canada, it's either the Liberal Party or the Conservative Party that wins. So the leader of the Conservative Party is Pierre Poilievre. So by default right now, he's going to win. Whether that means there's a lot of affection for him really or not, we'll see.
Excellent. Paul, I was also wondering, where do you see, with so many immigrants who have come in, where do you see the housing market go? It's next to impossible, virtually impossible for anyone to even buy one room in, say, the Lower Mainland or the GTA Toronto area or the Vancouver area. What's it, Amarjeet?
It's not just buying; it is to rent even.
Yes.
Rent's gone very
Excellent,
high.
yeah.
The affordability system is kind of crashing.
Big time. It's a major issue. And that's why you're seeing this government reverse course on immigration, because they're realizing that bringing in so many people when there's not that much housing being created is just causing more and more problems. The government says they have a housing strategy. Every province says they have a housing strategy. Maybe it's helping a little bit, but not enough. Too little, too late, too few houses, and that's a problem. You're right.
And do you think for major surgeries and operations and all that, don't you think Canada, the Canadian health system should just outsource its stuff to maybe India, because it's in the dumps here?
I think it's worth considering. Yes.
One thing I want to add that. So it's the lack of hospitals or the doctors?
We don't have enough doctors, or maybe we do have doctors, but they're not allowed to practice medicine because they came in from India and maybe they haven't gotten their Canadian license yet.
But all the doctors are not from India, don't we?
Yeah, all the doctors are not from India. He's right. It's just that I think the licensing system should be looked in very positively from the next government, because lawyers, doctors, engineers, they're made
Teachers.
to wait. Teachers. Amarjeet is a teacher, so and a tabla maestro. So they're made to wait by the Canadian system for years without. I mean, do you think a guy?
I'm good. Just going to say one
Yeah.
thing. Canada is a federation, so actually all of those credentials are actually decided at the provincial level. There's not that much the federal government can do. The federal government lets them in, but it's the provinces that decide who gets licensed or not. So it's actually each Canadian province that needs to make it easier.
So, as a matter of fact, you have validated my point. Forget the federal government. The federal government lets people in through the immigration system. So, the provincial government is also a government. It's a part of the system. So why?
In Canada, it's a very important part of the system.
Yeah.
They control education. They control
Yeah.
healthcare. So they're part of the solution here.
It's the separation of powers in the balancing act. I understand the Constitution, how it works.
I know you're a brilliant lawyer, a brilliant
lawyer.
Yeah. No,
man.
But these guys don't seem to want to fix the system. Why? That's one solution before we let you go.
One beautiful thing about the Canadian political system is each level of government can blame the other. So the provinces will blame in Ottawa, and Ottawa will blame the provinces, and then it doesn't always get fixed.
Excellent. So Paul,
because of
Amarjeet,
to blame someone is very easy.
Very easy.
I
Easier
can
than
always blame to
solutions.
Navin.
So अमरजीत फिर पॉल को समोसा और चाय के लिए लेके चलते हैं अगले हफ्ते.
Oh yeah. Like, where's my samosa? I've got an empty plate here. Did the security detail eat it? What happened?
Yeah.
Most welcome, Paul. Thank you so much for
Paul.
coming in
And
our show.
Paul, I think we'll have another chit chat with you sometime
Very soon.
and people from all over the globe can hear your views and our discussion.
That would be great. Thank you.
हम अपने दर्शकों को कह देते हैं कि हम फिर से आपके सामने जल्दी हाजिर होंगे. तब तक के लिए हम इससे पहले कि हम आपसे इजाजत चाहें, प्लीज लाइक कीजिए और सब्सक्राइब कीजिए हमारे चैनल को, ताकि हम ज्यादा से ज्यादा लोगों तक पहुंच सकें और एक नए
गेस्ट को लेके
और नए प्रॉब्लम्स के साथ आपके सामने फिर हाजिर होते हैं. तब तक के लिए नमस्कार. सत श्री अकाल.
थैंक यू. सत श्री अकाल.